So I make nature-inspired silver and gold jewellery from a little workshop down here in Devon, in England, and that's my main thing at the moment. I'm also training to be a counsellor, which is a side thing to making the jewellery, and hope to bring them together in art therapy at some point.
Hi, welcome to today's Ask Austin. Today I'm speaking to Naomi Brookes from Naomi Brookes Designs. Hi Naomi, how are you today?
Hi Austin, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm great, thanks. Okay Naomi, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
About what I make, oh God. Simple question, I can't even answer it. So I make nature-inspired silver and gold jewellery from a little workshop down here in Devon, in England, and that's my main thing at the moment. I'm also training to be a counsellor, which is a side thing to making the jewellery. And hope to bring them together in art therapy at some point.
So what made you get into making jewellery?
Oh gosh, I spent many years working in nature conservation, and I've been told at school I wasn't very artistic, so I gave up any kind of sense of being able to make things. And then I started moving around a lot and started doing some evening classes because that's a good way to meet people, and it sparked up my creativity again. And I tried all sorts of different things, stained glass making, I made cards, tried sewing, was appalling at it. And then I found jewelry making, and I started off really simply making precious beads into stringed bead designs and things like that. Loved it, but then stumbled across a day class in precious metal clay, which is what I use. And I've just not looked back. That was about 8 years ago, and it's just a fantastic material. I fell completely in love with it. It's so soothing, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, but it took me a good 8 years to persuade myself to go for it and honing my skills. I tell everybody it's about honing my skills in those last 8 years.
Excellent. So a couple of questions for you. In terms of making your jewellery, what do you like about making jewellery the most, and what do you least like?
The material I use, like I say, is called precious metal clay. So it's not traditional silversmithing techniques. It's a bit like using plasticine or Fimo in its most basic form. So it's like a clay, and I love the way that I can manipulate it and do things with it I just don't think I could achieve with traditional techniques, and I love that. And because I make designs from nature, I can capture things in the silver in a greater detail than I could otherwise. What I most love about it though is that, particularly when I started to learn, is that you get the clay, you make your design, you let it dry out, and then you get a blowtorch and you burn it off for 2 minutes. And then it turns into 99% pure silver. I mean, what's more cool than that? Yeah, it's really cool. So, I mean, that's what hooked me. It's a bit like alchemy. What I don't like is it can go wrong at that stage, and it can be quite a costly mistake. So I've recently been playing with gold and silver, and I got myself a kiln to speed things up, and I've melted quite a few pieces in the learning process. It's good learning, but it's a bit annoying when you've spent quite a bit on silver and gold. But yeah, it's not that I dislike that bit. Oh, and sanding sometimes. I do a lot of pre-sanding of the material before I burn it off. And it's a bit like when you decorate a house, the sanding is the worst bit.
Yeah, and do you use a tool for that, or is it all done by hand?
I do it all by hand because I sand pre-firing. So at that stage, it's a bit like dried pottery. So it sands really easily by hand. Anything more abrasive would take off too much. And the idea is the more sanding I do at that stage, the less I have to do afterwards. Of course, there's a bit of time afterwards, especially if I've soldered bits to it. You can still solder precious metal clay, and then you have to do a bit of sanding, but not so much.
So you mentioned nature, so I guess that's where you get your inspiration. Is it a case of when you're out for a walk, you see something, you think that would look really nice as a piece? Is that how it works, or how does the process work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I spent 20 years working in nature conservation, so it actually is my passion. I trained in that, so this is quite a new area for me. And I'm fascinated not just by going out for a walk in seeing nature, but how it's connected, the patterns and how they work and how that works and how twigs and leaves come together. And that's what I want to capture. So it's that kind of tiny detail. I call them mini landscapes. So you look at a leaf and I think it's like a mini landscape almost, or a flower petal, and how that's all joined together. And fossils. I like playing with fossils as well because they have such interesting textures.
Cool. So what does a normal day look like for you? I know obviously you mentioned earlier you're studying as well, but in terms of the jewellery side of things, if you dedicated a full day to jewellery, what would that look like?
Ideally, it would be getting up later than I used to. No longer 6 a.m. starts, which is just bliss. But I'm very lucky enough to have a little workshop at the bottom of my garden. So on a good day, I get to go out there and just make all day. I do like to take some walks and go and get new material throughout the day to inspire myself. And that's really important, actually. With the way I make things, there's a lot of drying time and in between time. So I use that to either walk, get more inspiration, or do some admin. I just don't like the admin. There's always admin.
We all hate that, I think. So, for me, it always gets left to the last minute.
Oh, yeah. I never used to do anything on social media, so that has been my biggest learning curve this year. So I've only been in business 1 year,
right,
and social media has been even more of a learning curve than jewellery making.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's not the thing that most people are kind of have done before, and obviously they're concentrating on their business, which is probably something completely different. I mean, obviously I'm in media, so it kind of makes sense for me, but for someone who's in something completely different, it's quite alien, and it is a big learning curve, but it's so important because you will get so much business from it, especially if you get it right.
Yes, and I've been learning that, and it's invaluable. And you asked about a typical day. I must spend, regardless of whether it's a making day or a bit more of an admin day, I spend about an hour a day at least on social media, and it is worth that time. And because I only started back here at the start of this year, just before COVID, I had planned to do lots of craft fairs and things like that, but I've had to pivot and do more social media work. So to get an audience from scratch takes a bit of time and effort.
Yeah, and the other bit as well is going in front of the camera, because don't know about you, but yeah, I was really nervous about doing it, but it's like, sod it, just do it, and it really helps your confidence. The more you do it, the better you get and the easier it gets. But that is a big change. But it's great. I see lots of people do it. I see people on Facebook going live and Instagram live, and I guess the likes of Artisanry, which you're part of, is probably helped with that in terms of the community and the courses, not courses, but the sessions that they run, that kind of thing. Have you got involved in much of that at all?
Yeah, a little bit, not as much as I'd like, just because of the timings. But when I can, it's really excellent. And I actually did a couple of talks with them recently about mental health and creativity, which is obviously close to my heart. So that was really exciting. That was a Facebook Live, and that was great. So I like Artisanry, not just because of the community, but it's allowed me to push my own boundaries about what I'm comfortable with doing and learn new skills. Yeah, which is excellent, really excellent, and they're very supportive with that.
Yeah, they are, and everyone that I speak to says exactly the same. It's like, if there's something you're not sure about, you can ask them. There's always somebody that can help you. You can go into these sessions and just fire questions at people who they bring guest speakers in and that kind of thing as well. So it's certainly from what I've seen, it's a great resource.
Absolutely. And it's really nice what I've discovered, having spent 20 years working in an office or with groups of volunteers, things like that. And then starting to work by myself, something like Artisanry Co is so important. I love working by myself, but it's so important to have that contact with other makers, the support that comes with that, but just having a chinwag over a cup of tea. Yeah. it's like, I really miss that sometimes, that water cooler moment. Not that I've ever had a water cooler in an office, but you know what I mean.
This episode of Ask Austin is presented in conjunction with Artisanry Co, a marketplace and community for artisans, crafters and artists. taking care of the business side of the creative process. To find out more, go to www.artisanryco.co.uk.
It's I guess it's speaking to like-minded people who face the same struggles and issues that you do in running your business. So, having that support network's really, really good. So, how did you get involved in Artisanry then? How did you come across it?
I saw a few of their posts on Instagram. It was quite a long time ago, and Pavna approached me and we had a conversation. And I really liked that social enterprise element of Artisanry Co and the community element. And I've been looking for a different platform to some of the other big ones out there. I wanted something a bit more British-based, very much focused on makers and that kind of handcrafted, artistic kind of approach. And that brought makers together and the customers, and that's what I really liked, and reinvested in that community.
Yeah.
And so it ticked so many boxes, and they seem to be really into sustainability and environmental ethos as well. So that was really appealing. Just so welcoming.
Yeah, no, that's good. And how in the future, how are you planning on using that community to help you grow your business and also maybe create a bit of confidence in what you're doing?
It's a really good question, and I don't think I've spent enough time thinking about it, because naively I thought it was just another sales platform initially, despite what I just said about it having this community around it. But it's the way that they're building the community, the more people that get involved, the coffee mornings and the chats and conversations about mental health, that's really opened my eyes to what I could do with the community. And it's given me a bit more confidence in doing things like this. I'd never have had this opportunity before, and probably would never have pushed myself to do this before. So it's given me an opportunity to test my skills, broaden my skills in that respect, and actually, like I said, connect with other makers. And I want to get more involved. Now I've had a taste of that, I want to get more and more involved in that and learn from other people about business, really. I'm so new to this that it's good to learn.
Yeah, especially when you've never run a business before. It's you can watch as many YouTube videos as you like, but it's dealing with people and speaking to other people who have been in the same situation and learning from their experiences that really helps. That gives the most value, I've certainly found. So you mentioned fairs. I guess you've not managed to do any fairs.
I had great plans this year. And none of them have come to fruition, but that's actually been to my advantage. I think I'd like to turn that around. So we chatted just before we started recording about social media, and it's really pushed me to think about how I can approach a different audience in a much more in a bigger way, I suppose. I would never have pushed myself to do so much social media. I design my own website. I'm on some different platforms, and it's been an exciting journey. So no craft fairs, that's next year's plan. But it's also got me thinking about how I can use this sort of platform to do some teaching and experience days in a completely different way to what I might have done.
Yeah, it's funny because we don't know how long this is going to last, obviously. More and more businesses are starting to do stuff online, and it's helped me because obviously video production is one of the things that we do. We're getting a lot of business from that because a lot of people don't know where to start, and it's even things like, would you do a kind of mentoring session with us to talk us through what equipment we need and that kind of thing. So, that's things that we've looked to try and help with. So it's great. I mean, the thing is, video is huge now. You just flick through your Facebook and you see how many videos are on as opposed to photos, and it's more interactive. I think you can get your message across a lot easier on a video. So, it's great seeing more and more people doing it, and people coming up with great ways of promoting their business, whether it's Facebook Live or virtual events, that kind of thing. So, yeah, the sky's the limit.
Definitely. I just got to grasp it really, because it's kind of nerve-wracking when you've not done it before. But things like Instagram have now got Reels, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the more
TikTok.
adult version of TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm quite excited by that, because it's short, sharp, little films I can do about how I make it, because I know that the way I make jewelry is very different to other people, and vice versa. And just even sharing those sorts of things, which I hadn't realized people would be interested in.
Yeah.
There's so much possibility with that, and people don't actually have to come to you. You can kind of put it out there for people.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how simple that was.
Yeah, I think it's funny because they always say you should attack the new social media channels. TikTok, for me, I've tried it and it's really hard to get traction. I think I've had one video that's got 1,700 views, which for me was like, wow, that's amazing. But
that's pretty impressive.
My son's girlfriend put a video on and she got like 150,000 views. And I'm like, well, how,
I'm afraid I think you're the wrong demographic. No offense.
I think you might be right. But you mentioned Reels as well, which is obviously Instagram's version of that, a rip-off version.
Yeah.
I've done a few things on that and getting quite a lot of traction, and the beauty of that is it seems to be pulling in new followers. I'm thinking of the Reels that's doing that, so it's definitely something I would suggest getting involved in. And things like behind the scenes, people love seeing behind the scenes stuff. So if it's you making your jewelry, people will enjoy watching that. And as you say, it's only 15 to 60 seconds or something.
Yeah, really short.
So it's not that you need to produce a 5-minute video. So it's dead easy to do. So yeah, I would encourage people to look at that. Fantastic. In terms of if people want to check out your work, follow you on social media, you're on Facebook, Instagram as well?
Oh yeah. Of course. Who isn't?
What other channels are you on?
It's just mainly Instagram and Facebook at the moment. I'd looked around and those were where my customers were going to be. I do have a website of Naomi Brookes Designs.co.uk as well. And obviously I'm on Artisanry Co.
Yeah. Can't forget that.
Yeah, but those are the main channels.
Sure.
And I think actually what I would say is I've learned that you have to focus. You can put yourself out there too much. Yeah. So actually just focusing on a couple of channels has proven more successful.
Yeah, and the big thing as well is trying not to post the same thing to each channel, because that really hurts the algorithm doesn't like that. It likes different. Yeah, I've only recently found that that they say that if you post the same thing, because I used to post the same thing to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but I don't know how it works, but it doesn't like that. So I'm starting to create work for Instagram that maybe doesn't appear on Facebook, and stuff for LinkedIn that doesn't appear on any other channel. So just having to think about not just doing that blanket post to all. Trying to make your work a bit more specific for each channel. So again, something to think about.
That's really good advice.
Not that I'm a social media expert, but that's what I'm hearing. So it's
no, that makes sense. And I've been posting to both with the same material, so that might explain a few things. And again, this is why I like the Artisanry community. So I would never have picked that up unless we'd had this conversation. So brilliant. I'm going to spend 2 hours a day on social media now. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries at all. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time. I appreciate that. And no doubt we'll speak again soon. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Austin. It's been lovely.
Thank you.